Mane fa na se ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Afenyo TV mi mo bibiara kwa ba eba PENDREAM TV. Ye bora yensi mwane de ni HML Parliament just the minority leader Afenyo market ojima ne rap yi pa. And intia man rap ni na say Parliament hono 32 out of 68%. Yeah, what I said the minority no 32% and the majority into 68%. And some of who be we wanna Afenyo market area to do. So subscribe boy, I matter subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon also. Like and share the video ma afro ensa enkabi. Comment section so na do adventure aba. Kama honenti and sema Afenyo market area to do.
Mr. Speaker. Very sad. Sad in the sense that this side of the House, Parliament, is 32%, 68%. We are 32%. They are 68%. It's being used to calculate the committees. Mr. Speaker, there are committees that you have 13 NDC members and we are just 5. We've accepted it. It got to a point during the negotiations. I sent my respected chief whip to approach our colleagues that for some of the committees that we are 0.45, they should at least compromise for us to have one more. They said no. We kept quiet. I said, it is what it is. Mr. Speaker, we are not striking a compromise on any matter. It's a matter of right, far right. Let's not do this to ourselves. Let's not do this to ourselves. Let's be fair. One day, I'm not saying that you are going into opposition, but one day, you don't know. We had 169. In less than 4 years, we came to 137, 130. Do the calculation. We did the math. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I repeated the calculation. Let's start with ECOWAS. If you calculate majority, 0.68 times 8 is equal to 5.44. Minority, 0.32 times 8 is equal to 2.56. Per the known formula that we used in the committee formation, what that means is that the 5.44 is not up to 0.5. So they would keep 5. And then the 2.56, because we have crossed 5.6, we round it to the next decimal point, which makes it 3. This is what they've had. And in fact, there's a reason why in ECOWAS at the 8th Parliament, we had it 4.4. Because when we calculate, we were getting 3.44, we were getting 4.44, and they were getting 3.56. So they said, hey, that is what it is. That's why we shared it equally. Mr. Speaker, let's deal with Pan-Africa. In Pan-Africa, it is 5, a delegation of 5. I calculated and shared it with them. Majority, 0.68 times 5 is equal to 3.4. Minority, 0.32 times 5 is equal to 1.6. The same formula, the same precedence. They would get 3, and then we would get 2. How then do you say that, with respect, Speaker directed that we should take 1 and have an observer, and then you should have 4? Mr. Speaker, why would we be changing the story as we find convenient? No. Yesterday I made it clear. I made it very clear. And my respected colleague, the leader of government business, said he was going to consult. And I said there's nothing to consult about. What about all our 3.44? Some committees, independent constitutional bodies. How many are we? The minority, we had 4. Some of it, you didn't even compromise that you had about 14. Go to public account. How many do we have there? Why didn't you compromise on some of these ones for us as minority? You did not. Now, when it got to the delegation, Mr. Speaker, currently, there are some delegations that they have 7 and they give us 1. We don't even know how it is done. There are a lot of tribal delegations that this formula does not apply. and then they do it as it pleases them. It's not fair. We have IPU, we have CPA. I insist that all of these delegations, we should lay them before Parliament. All the EU delegation, every single delegation, let us apply the formula. Let's lay the report. We cannot limit it to only Pan-Africa and ECOWAS. There are other delegations. We have other delegations. I would plead that we ensure transparency. Our friends should look at posterity. They should look at tomorrow. Look at tomorrow. You are 183 today. Think about tomorrow. I'm saying that 187 very well. With the independent 4, you have one, no problem. 183 NDC. Let me deal with NDC. You have 183 today. What are you going to say? 183 plus 4, 187. The majority caucus. Majority caucus with the 4 independent, but it's okay. NDC in this chamber is 183. NDC caucus in this chamber, you have some independent adding up to your numbers. But you have 183. You are not 187. It is plus the independent MPs. So your caucus is 187. What's your problem? But the NDC is 183. Mr. Speaker, there is peace in this chamber. Let's maintain that peace. We are here as a family. Even the list that we have on our side, Mr. Speaker, is not conclusive. I was supposed to do some amendment. I didn't know it was going to be advertised. There are some consultations that I did. We need to do some balances here and there. So even we are not ready, as of this afternoon, we need to do some changes because some members that I consulted, expressed some views. But on Pan-Africa, it can go with Honorable Buama and Honorable Anodompre. ECOWAS, we can stay it and deal with the changes. But Pan-Africa, we have 2. Our 2, which is as a matter of right. We are not negotiating. We are not begging anybody. We are not pleading. It is as of right in accordance with the known precedents that we all know. We have 2. It's Honorable Patrick Buama of Okankwe Central and Honorable Anodompre of Isawo Madwejiri, the Chief Whip. Mr. Speaker, I am grateful. If they want to do the observer status, that's fine. They can. We will not even ask for observer. We are okay with our 2. They can decide to have even 3 observers. That's up to them.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, just a moment. You see, I've heard everything that he has said. We've all been in this house, and I think Honorable Muntaka is one of those that understand these things better than any other person. But the reality of the composition of the Pan-African Parliament is this, that it is always led by the first Deputy Speaker. Non-negotiable. The first Deputy Speaker can be an MPP member. The first Deputy Speaker can be an NDC member. It is always led by a first Deputy Speaker. Listen to me. I listen to you in silence. The first Deputy Speaker has always led the delegation to the Pan-African Parliament. Statutory. You can't change that. Person can be an MPP, an NDC, an independent member, but he leads or she leads. Then the 2 chief whips, the minority whip and the majority chief whip. The 2 chief whips, they are statutory members of the delegation. Mr. Speaker, when you remove these 3, technically the appointive members are only 2. The members that are to be appointed are only 2. Now, with 2 persons to be appointed, let's now apply the percentages and see what you will get and what we will get. That is why when you do the analysis, we said that for the 2 nominations, take one and then we will take one. Well, Honorable Muntaka is here. Go to the records and see whether throughout the life of the delegation, whether it has always not been the first deputy speaker who leads, then the 2 whips who join him, then we now nominate 2 people to join them. If you look at it from that perspective, it is simple. It is simple. So yes. So please, let us allow this arrangement to go on so that we can have the gender representation. Each of us gets to send 1 person, then the statutory members, being the speaker, and then the whips, will get to go. Indeed, it is pursuant to the position that it has to always be the whip, that when we made a transition in the middle of the life of the parliament, we had to compromise and allow him to go as an observer, because the slot was known to be for the whip. That was the position, because it was known that the slot is for the whips. So even though Muntaka had left as a whip and was an ordinary member of the House, we as a House agreed that for a smooth transition, he will go not as a delegation member, but as an observer. And this House adopted it. Mr. Speaker, don't talk as if we want to just use our numbers to oppress you. So I plead with him, let's allow this arrangement. And indeed, it is to reach out that the Speaker accepted the continuation of the observer status, so that we'll have our colleague, Honorable Yao Boama, to be a member of the delegation, but as an observer. So please, I'm pleading with you. Let's allow this to go. Then, subject to you sorting out your issues with your delegation for the ECOWAS Parliament, then we can deal with that one.
Mr. Speaker, that new theory of statutory membership is unknown. Mr. Speaker, it was the majority leader's submission that the precedence has always been that the 2 chief whips go to Pan-Africa. It's not true. Please, let me take you through the history. The chief whips have been going to ECOWAS. It was during my time that Honorable Arnaud Dompré and I said, because I previously went to ECOWAS, I would prefer to be in ECOWAS instead of going to Pan-Africa when I was a deputy leader. So he decided that he would go to Pan-Africa. So don't introduce any concept. In fact, Mr. Speaker, he was convinced by somebody in this chamber. I don't want to mention his name. I don't want to bring him into this debate. There is no statutory provision that first deputy speaker should be the one to lead delegation. No. Let's not create a new. You see, this Harvard jurisprudence that is often being introduced, even when they are in a tight corner, they will down open the standing orders and try a certain interpretation for survival. It won't work this time around, Mr. Majority Leader. Now you are saying, oh, the first deputy can be from any party, so that one is aside. Now there's another statutory, chief whip to chief whip, that is aside. Anytime I get a case, I will bring you as my lawyer, because you know how to fight to the end. But counsel, not on this occasion. Not on this occasion. the delegation is supposed to be 5 for Pan-Africa. And by practice, the ratio in this chamber, we always use the numerical strength, majority and minority. We've already agreed on the ratio, 32%, 68%. You've used your 68% to take all the committees. We didn't complain. We did not complain. You never compromised when it was 3.45 for us to get the next so that we even have 4. Mr. Speaker, you go to Finance Committee, go and see. We just 6 out of the whole lot. Public account. Mr. Speaker, that is true. You know you are coming to equity with very dirty, unclean hands. Stop it. You know. He knows. Let's stop this. Mr. Speaker, don't let us introduce and reinvent any theory to back any argument. They are supposed to be 3, and we are supposed to be 2. Mr. Speaker, and I don't want Mr. Speaker to be introduced into this that Mr. Speaker took a decision. Please. We already sat and agreed. When this thing became a controversy, I calculated it. The clerk was there, the majority leader was there, and the speaker was there. I showed it in his office. Your only problem is that you have already informed your senior members ahead of this. That was it. Well, no, let's be gentlemen. Let's be gentlemen, guys. Let's be gentlemen. You said you have already informed them. And it's difficult to go back to say, oh, your name is being taken out. Find another place for them. No, but he has mentioned it. That's why I'm referring. He mentioned it. He listed the names, our senior members. Else I know how to control my mouth. You know it. You know what I know. You know. So don't go there. I'm not an okro mouth. You know. Because, no, I'm referring to you because the leader brought it up. I'm not, yes, of course. I respect code. And you know I respect code. Mr. Speaker, what is happening is unfair. I would plead with the majority leader that since his own chief whip is saying the 32% is what Ghanaians gave us, he should help us to maintain our 32%. We are not asking for more, irrespective of what you want to do at the Ablekuma North. With the news that is coming up, let us maintain our 32%. Let us have the 2 for Pan-Africa, our 3 for ECOWAS. That is what we are entitled to, and we demand it as of right for the umpteenth time. Let me repeat it. We are not going to do any so-called observer and then whatever. Mr. Speaker, when there was reshuffle at the minority bench, Mr. Speaker, now let me come to the next argument. They claim that there was a certain precedent. When there was reshuffle, Honorable Muntaka became naked because there was no role for him at the front seat. And they decided to ensure, when are you the naked in this contest? Please don't come and contest. He was no more in the front bench, and they themselves had an arrangement where they didn't want Honorable Kwame Agoja to go and remove him. Mr. Speaker, I did the same for my boss who was at IPU. The clerk would bear me out. I said that I don't want to go into all the the delegations that he was in because he was majority leader. And I told him that, sir, stay there. I would even join you as an observer. That is what I did. And I stayed back. So that my name is not at IPU. I've decided I won't go. I will not be at IPU or even CPA. I said I don't want to be part of that one so that others can go. So if you compromise to ensure peace in your backyard, don't now introduce it as a precedent for to say that, oh, there was an observer status given, so you are doing us a favor. by giving us an observer status. If your member will not accept an observer status, deal with it. We cannot tell Honorable Boama that you should go as an observer. Why? Why? Mr. Speaker, we are entitled to 2. We are entitled to 2 out of 5. They should take their 3 and let us have our 2. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud and privileged to have been one of the longest serving members of this House on the front bench. Mr. Speaker, I also have the privilege and the great honor of serving as Chief Whip on 3 consecutive times from both majority and minority. And I'll be very grateful if all of us, not because I am wise or knowledgeable, but please, I'll carry huge experience in handling this. And I've handled this on 3 consecutive times. So I want to take us into a history of this. And I'm very optimistic that if our intent is truly to find a compromise position, by the time I'm done, we'll see our way clear. Well, Mr. Speaker, let me state that, yes, it's true that whips ordinarily go to ECOWAS. The chief whips ordinarily go to ECOWAS. Then you have the deputy leaders ordinarily go to Pan-African Parliament, that's PAP. Then you have the first deputy speaker leading the delegation of PAP. And I say this with all sincerity. This House is governed by 3 things: the 1992 Constitution, our standing orders, and our practices. Our practices may not be written anywhere. Some of them you can find in the Hansard or official document. But it serves as a very useful guide most of the time. And then we have the leaders. They are usually assigned to IPU and CPA. Then something happened in 2013. I became chief whip. Before I became chief whip, I had already been assigned as one of the junior members to Pan-African Parliament before the 2012 election. So when we came, I remember very well, Honorable Leader Oseche Monsu encouraged me to move from Pan-African Parliament to come to where whips usually go. I then pleaded with the late Honorable Deputy Leader, Honorable Agbe, and said that in Pan-African Parliament, I have made so much strides. And I was in some of very important committees there. So to leave that and start, I really wish he could swap with me. What I'm saying, Speaker Doajawo is alive. We went before him and we agreed to do this. So I remained in Pan-African Parliament, even though I was a whip, and then he went to ECOWAS Parliament. Now, fast track. In the 8th Parliament, my colleague, Honorable Anu Dompre, came. And Honorable Minority Leader today was the Deputy Leader then. But my situation in 2013 met him, where he was in ECOWAS before becoming the Deputy Leader. And I encouraged my colleague, the whip, to understand, to swap with him. Because I want to believe that he had made a lot of strides in ECOWAS. Changing for him to come to Pan-Africa will mean we'll be losing all the advantage that the then Deputy Leader will have gathered in ECOWAS. He will be throwing them away to start afresh. So they agreed and they swapped. And the rest is history. But the compositions, yes, that's how come. So it didn't start with him, it really started with me. Mr. Speaker, Pan-African Parliament was started in 2004. And when it was started, our first delegation were led by the president today, Honorable Malik Alassane, who is alive, Doa Dao, then a deputy leader, and Honorable Malik Alassane was the deputy speaker. That's how come he was the leader of the delegation to Pan-African Parliament. So, yes, it's not written anywhere, but these are the practices that we've done. But let me come to the composition. Mr. Speaker, in the Sixth Parliament, the total number of the House was 275. Majority members, we were 154. And the minority were 121. And when I talk about this number, I'm talking about the caucus, because some had independent people with them and all that. Later, your own neighbor, Sëriöus, Honorable, was working with them, and that gave them 121. And we had 154. Mr. Speaker, I want to beg the leaders to listen to this very carefully, because I know how emotional it is when you are sharing things in this house. When we come from election, we have our caucus strength, and we normally break them into percentages. So then, we, the majority, our percentage was 56, so 0.06, and the minority was 0.44, that's 44%. If you multiply the 0.05, which is that of the majority, by 13, when I'm talking about 13, I want all of us to listen very carefully. When I talk about 13, I'm talking about Pan-Africa 5 and ECOWAS 8. When you put them together, that's 13. When you put them, when you strike the percentages, it gives you the global figure you get for each caucus. If you look at them, the strength of the caucuses was that with ECOWAS, the majority was going to have 7.2. When you put the two together, you're going to get 7.2. 7.2 members means that 7 members. So they had 3, they had 3 for Pan-African Parliament, and then 4. Even though then they had 4.47, if you wanted to break it. But when you put the two together, it gives you 7.2. So when the percentage does not deviate much from the absolute, you then share 3 and 4. And then in 7th Parliament, the numbers changed, and the majority became 169, and the minority became 106. When you look at the percentages, it was 0.615 and then 0.38. When you multiply it by the 13, you are going to get the majority having 7.99, meaning 8. And then the minority were going to have 4.9, meaning what you call a 5. You came to the 8th Parliament. Because the 8th Parliament is something that all of us can remember very well. When we came to the 8th Parliament, the numbers were 138 and 137. With the 138, it came to 0.0502 and then 0.49. When you multiply it by the 13, you were supposed to get about 6.5 each. But this is what happened. In the spirit of compromise, the majority doing that is because they have more members to cater for than the minority. So anytime the number is to the middle, you give it to the majority because they have more members to cater for. So even though it was 0.25, we gave it to the majority because with the 138, they took 3, with 137, we took 2. But this is what we did. And Mr. Speaker, the records of this House, that's why I'm emphasizing on 8th Parliament, is there to show. When it came to the committees, we decided to alternate some of the committees so that if you have an advantage here, you have a disadvantage to enable the minority be able to be carried along. So when you look at subsidiary legislation, if you look at the number, there are 25. We said because we were chairing it, they should let us have the 13 and they will have 12. And they did, in the spirit of the compromise. Then we came to public accounts. We did the same. And then I think government assurance. So I want to, now let's look at this 9 parliament. If you take the 187 and the 88, if you multiply, that percentage comes to 0.68 and then 0.32. If you multiply them by 13, it comes to 8.8 for the majority and then 4.16 for the minority. So any attempt to say that give me 2 here and give me 3 here is going to take you far away from the absolute percentage, because you need to work from the absolute percentage before you go to the unit. Other than that, it's going to create more distortion. So from 8.8 means that they have to get 9, and then 4.1 means they have to get 4. But it is then for them to then decide, okay, give us 2 in Pan-African Parliament and 2 in ECOWAS, so that we'll have our 4. Or no, give us 3 in ECOWAS, because the number there is 8, and give us 1 in Pan-African Parliament. If you move away from this, Mr. Speaker, what it simply means is that when it comes to the absolute, you will be disadvantaging the majority so deep by 0.8 as compared to advantaging the minority who just has 0.16. So, colleagues, I want to beg you, if the Speaker has stepped in, like Speaker did in the 8th Parliament, to say that, look, to help you manage these difficulties that you have, I want to give you an observer status. Remember, the last time when the compromise came, the observer status went to the minority. It went to the minority. So if the observer status is coming, it necessarily has to go to the minority. Colleagues, you can choose to say that all this history I've given is irrelevant because it may not give you what you want. But I want to just caution all of us. I've heard many of you repeatedly say it. This House, especially the leadership, if you don't allow the spirit of compromise to work and allow also the institutional memory or the practice of this House guide you, what you simply be doing is that you always be at war with each other, no matter what is at stake. The way this House has run effectively is that in one leg you get an advantage, in another leg you get a disadvantage. But if you want to say that in every single committee you want to apply the formula, what I know is that, especially with the kind of majority that we have now, if you are not careful, the minority will virtually become irrelevant in almost every committee that will be set in. But that may not be good for us. There may be instances where you have to form a committee because of what you want them to do. You say that, yes, even though we have this, let's compose a committee in a kind of 55-45, so that we want to get it to do somewhere. But if we refuse and we want to continue arguing, well, what I would say is that democracy has no alternative. It's the worst form of governance, but it has no alternative. When I say it's the worst form is that, Mr. Speaker, you are a lawyer, you are an engineer. When it comes to law, engineering, you are way ahead of me. But me and I can go to a contest of engineers and I'll be voted. Because democracy says they look at my face and say, oh, maybe I'm looking taller than you, so they are electing me and leaving you when you are truly an engineer who could even do the same way. But that's what we have. When this thing becomes a problem, what our rules allows us to do is to vote on them. But I will pray point of voting. Because when we subject everything to voting, obviously what we are doing is that our colleagues will become irrelevant. But I don't think that will be good for all of us. I thank you very much for the opportunity to provide this information.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard the long explanation by Honorable Muntaka Mubarak. Mr. Speaker, there are two important points I want him to note. When you are dealing with Pan-Africa, you are dealing with Pan-Africa. You are dealing with ECOWAS, you are dealing with ECOWAS. You are dealing with CPA, you are dealing with CPA. You're dealing with IPU, you're dealing with IPU. Each of the delegation strengths. So you cannot combine ECOWAS and Pan-Africa and say it's 13. No. I have been a leader in this house. There was no such thing. So please, Mr. Speaker, I was part of the 8th Parliament. We dealt with Pan-Africa separately, we dealt with ECOWAS separately, and that is what we know. So as for this new arrangement, I don't know about it. Let's not go there and try to confuse everybody by saying that you are dealing with a number 13 and strike average. No. You apply 32 just as we do for all the committees. The committees in this parliament are not the same. Some committees are 19, some are 13, some are 21 and all. On each committee, we apply the formula. Mr. Speaker, so the argument he made that you put together and strike the balance is never true. That argument falls flat. And having addressed that, I'll move to the next. Mr. Speaker, maybe Honorable Muntaka is not aware, but today it's good he's brought it up. Your colleague, the Chief Whip, did not agree to our side having more numbers for committees that we chair. A committee like public accounts, we chair the committee on public accounts. We have 32% on the committee. I kept quiet for you. You see, you guys, you are not being fair. We agreed from day one. And he, the majority Chief Whip, said we are here with a strength of 32%. And even committees, you said that there was an arrangement where some committees that we chair will have majority. And that is what you think should even happen to protect minority. This was your submission. That was your submission. Now you are changing. Mr. Speaker, for me, there is nothing to debate. There's really nothing to debate except to see people trying to bully their way. There's nothing to debate. We have used our 32% to form committees. Some committees, we have as low as 5. It is the same formula, the same principle. It cannot change when it gets to Pan-Africa or ECOWAS. We will not accept it. We demand it as of right. All these calculations and you combine. Then combine all the delegations. CPA, we have its own formula. IPU, we have its own formula. And then we go by the 32 against 68. Why do they want to change it? Mr. Speaker? No way. They shouldn't do that.
Honorable members. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, let's stand that down. Let's stand that down. If they are opposed to us moving the procedural motion, then we'll just stand it down. I think we had a challenge with the clerk indicating that he needed to send some communication to South Africa. That's really why we were trying to get this done today. But given the position of Osahin, I think that we will stand it down and engage in some more consultations. I think Honorable Muntaka has given us some guidance of how it was done in the past. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that with our colleagues on the other side, and we'll see how we proceed.
Thank you very much. So we will then move on with our questions. So we turn to question 215. 215. Honorable Wisdom Kujo, Pristia Hunivari. Pristia Hunivari.
Yes, sir.
Yes, honorable member, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Energy and Green Transition when the following communities will be captured under the Rural Electrification Program: Bipo Asi, Gambia, Alasa, Baireja, Nkranda Dieso, Techimentia, and Towada.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, the communities, namely Bepoase, Gambia, Alasan, Baireja, Nkranda Dieso, Techimentia, and Towada. If I may receive it again, Towada. I'll tell you, they do not form part of the ministry's current ongoing electrification projects. These communities have been duly noted and will be considered for connection to the national electrification grid in the next phase of the electrification program. We are working with Finance Minister and getting very positive indications. And so let me assure my colleague that it's very possible that within this year, we can capture these communities and start with them. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, no other question.
Very well. This is constituency specific, so I wouldn't give anybody supplementary. So we turn to question 216. Question 216, and the same Honorable Robert Wisdom Kujo. Prisia Hunivari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, once again. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Energy and Green Transition the specific steps the ministry is taking to resume the stalled rural electrification works in the following communities within Prisia Hunivari constituency: Subrim Kwanta, Kwesi Koko, Pewodie, Nazareth, Nyamiasi, Kofi Krom, and Nyame Bechere.
Yes. Don't mention. My mind is going back to Honorable Ajako. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the communities, namely Nyame Ase, Kofi Krom, and Nyame Bechere, forms part of the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition's cost-sharing arrangement under the current self-help electrification program. Installation works, including high-tension poles, low-tension poles, and substation works, have been completed at Nyamiase, Kofi Krom, and Nyame Bechere, awaiting customer service connection. The delay in the connection of the communities to the national grid is due to unavailability of some energy meters. The Ministry of Energy has started the process to procure critical meters, and I want to assure my good friend and colleague that once we take delivery of these meters, these communities will be energized. The ministry has received the list of prospective customers already from the ECG for approval and would subsequently ensure that the meters are released for the communities to be connected. The other communities, Subrim Kwanta, Kwesi Koko, Pewodie, and Nazareth, do not form part of our current ongoing electrification projects. I would appeal to my friend that he should let us complete the stalled ones so that we can apply the materials judiciously. Once we are done with the stalled ones, we can look at the remaining communities and connect them. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable, do you have any supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the second batch of communities mentioned here, Kwesikoko, Peodia, Supreme Kwanta. Mr. Speaker, these communities also had part of the project completed as far back as 2016. They form part of the second batch of rural electrification from 2012 to 2016. Minister is talking about doing detailed assessment of the outstanding scope of work. Mr. Speaker, at that time, we installed all the poles, we laid the cables, we were just about to connect them to national grid when NDC exited power. And that was the end of the program. The other adjoining communities like Brunin Kwanta.
The answer me na ibitia. Subscribe to the channel on Nasha Jumadi and Ma Afro and Sai Kami.
Mamena PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.